Hello, my name is Cole Thatcher, and I'm one of the producers here in Cohort 27. Today I'm presenting to you my thesis proposal, How Different Games Affect Fan Loyalty in Esports. A quick agenda of what I will go over. First, I will start with an introduction explaining the background of my case. Then I will situate the case by talking about literature review and the research I've done so far. Then I will talk about how this case is studied and the methodology behind that. And lastly, I will follow up with a survey. A quick introduction. So esports is a rapidly growing industry where teams want to understand how to better connect and gain fans. There's a unique opportunity in esports that's not seen in traditional sports, which is video game streaming. Players actually have an opportunity to directly interact with their fans. In my study, I plan to focus on 4 research questions. The first is, in esports, are fans more likely to support an individual player or a team? Additionally, do different games change this pattern? That is, in Game 1, do fans support a player, and in Game 2, fans support a team? In addition to these 2 questions, I will ask, what motivates fan loyalty in esports, and how do fans engage with teams or individual players? Situating the case. Look, when I was researching this topic, I found 3 main points that I wanted to focus my research on. The first was esports and Twitch. The second, esport games. And lastly, fan loyalty in sports. Esports and Twitch. Twitch is a live streaming platform. That is, players can play games in front of a live digital audience. This audience can interact with the player by asking questions through the chat system, by subscribing, and by donating. Esports is a competitive gaming scene. That is, professional players on teams will compete against each other in video games. 2 additional studies dug into why people watch Twitch. What they found is that social motivations, that is, their users' need for community, meeting new people, or having social interactions, was the largest driver for usage and live stream viewer engagement. Specifically, these social motivations led to emotional connectedness, feeling a bond between user and player. This was especially important when considering financial support. Fans and users that were emotionally connected to their stream were more likely to support their player financially. Newzoo, which is an online website, released the top 10 games based on esport viewing hours watched from January to July. So each month they had a breakdown, and these 4 games were the top 4 in every month. League of Legends, Overwatch, Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, and Dota 2 were the clear top 4 games. However, their position changed each month in the top 4. The 5th placed game was significantly behind the 4th place game every month, implying that there's a solid top 4 in esports currently. The last point of my research was fan loyalty in sports. There was a study done here in the United States trying to understand whether fans are more likely to support a team or an individual player. What they found is that fans are more likely to support a team. However, there were 2 key factors that are important to consider in my study. The first is that fans are more likely to directly interact with a team or team representatives than a player in sports. The second driving factor is that player identification, their measure for supporting a player, actually drove team identification. So if you supported a specific player, you were more likely to support their team. However, there was a contradictory study done in Europe studying the attendance of 2 rival soccer teams in the same city. What they found was they had inconclusive evidence to prove whether a fan would or would not switch from one team to another based on performance of that team. So with these 3 pieces of research in mind, I will create a study that will be released on Reddit. This study will be modeled similarly to the study that was trying to understand whether a sport fan supported a team or an individual player, but will be adapted to esports and adding a few questions that are only relevant to esports, such as things like Twitch. After the survey is released to Reddit, I will collect the data and see if the questions are valid. Based on that data, I will refine my survey and release it at an upcoming eSport event called OP Live. That data is the data that I plan to use for my final case study. After collecting the data from OP Live, I plan to use parametric statistics and SPSS to help me assess the correlations between variables in my study. Now that we've discussed the methodology, I'm going to go over a quick overview of my schedule. If you're interested in a more detailed overview, I encourage you to look at the proposal document where there is a more detailed schedule. My first main milestone is August 3rd to release the survey to Reddit. This is assuming I am approved by both the thesis board and the IRB. And once that is done, I will release that survey to Reddit so I can start collecting data. By September 17th, I plan to have a first pass at my analysis of my data and begin refining the survey for OP Live. That following week, I will distribute the survey at OP Live, and in October, I will begin to analyze the data, and we'll decide then if I need another survey round. That is, if the data is valid from OP Live, then I will continue with that, but if not, I will need to find a third event to release the survey at. By December 7th, at the end of the semester, I plan to have solidified correlations from the data so that I can begin writing my case study in January. By February 15th, I plan to have a first pass on that case study and be defense ready by March 29th. That is all I have for my thesis proposal. Thank you so much for your time.